It is good to have you back. If you're just joining us, this is Firecrackers, and we're just about to start our discussion, which is on the interim government and DSS under pressure. But first, I think there is need to clarify what interim government is and why it is unconstitutional or illegal. I guess you'll be in the right position to really explain that to us.
An interim government, by its name, interim, English word interim, presupposes something brief. In law, we have interim orders. Basically, an interim order lasts for around 7 days. So if you juxtapose it in the government thing, it should be a government that lasts for a short while. It should be a kind of interregnum, something that comes to be put in place for a short while we go on to get back to the right thing or to the normal thing. But so far in Nigeria, we've had once, 1993, when we had the interim national government, which was put in place by the then President Ibrahim Babangida. He handed over on the 27th of August 1993 to Dr. N.A. Shoneko, who he appointed as the head of that interim government. He made the MKO Abiola the deputy, and then the then head of military in that government was General Sani Abacha. Around the 10th to 11th of November, in November that year, General Abacha now took over. It was like a mini coup. Looking at Nigeria's constitution, which is the ground norm, which is the major source of all other laws in Nigeria, there is no provision anywhere for an interim national government. Our constitution has a provision of what will happen in every situation. If the president is not there, there is a deputy, there is a vice who should take the reins. If the vice is not there, there is the president of the National Assembly, okay, the Senate president, who is the third in the order of protocol and in command. There is no provision for interim national government as of today in our constitution, and there has never been any provision for that. The only time it was done, like I said, was in August 1993. And because the military, by their pattern, didn't uphold any constitution. They had constitution, we had the constitution, but they suspended major parts of the constitution and ruled by decrees. So the military could do such a thing because they themselves, and the military government on its own is an aberration. It's not the military by their training ought not to govern the nation. They are basically focused on warfare, strategic warfare, defense of the country against external aggression. That is what the military is set up for. Not to govern, not to get involved in the rule and governance of the country. So they could do that in 1993 because they were in place and they had suspended the constitution to a large extent. But they could try things. And that was how the interim national government was put in place, because there was that pressure on Damoshi Babangida to quit office. He didn't want to restore the elections, the result of the elections, which were suspended about that June, that period, the June 12th elections, which many still believe up to today was won by MKO Abiola. But midway into the announcement of the results, a court order was obtained, funny though, but then that was what we saw. A court order was obtained from the Federal High Court then, late Justice Dahiru Saleh, with which the NEC, National Electoral Commission, as it was known then, was confronted with and forced to stop announcing the result. The results were already coming in. The announcement was on, but midway into it, the then head of NEC, Professor Humphrey, also announced that he couldn't go on. We believe it was under that pressure. It was, the pressure was much on him, and he had to suspend the election. That was what led to a lot of uprising in the country in 1993. Both national and international pressure was on the military government of Ibrahim Babangida to do the right thing. So he found as an escape route, a kind of midpoint. Of course, he didn't want to continue the In his announcement, in his broadcast to the nation, subsequently, he said certain people didn't want MKO Abiola. That was what happened then. Okay, so in deference to those people whom we believe were perhaps faceless people, some said they were top shots in the military, some said they were the northern part of the country, that a lot of people didn't, all those speculations were there, but suffice it to say that he didn't continue. He didn't allow the results to come out. So there were no official results. On the other hand, he couldn't continue. So he now put in place that contraption and exited on the 27th of August. That was how we woke up to see what interim national government.
Okay, now back to my studio guest. So whenever the word interim government takes place, the picture that forms in the mind of a lot of people is military. But during the military era, the interim government, although the administration, so to speak, of Ernest Shonekan was put under the military, but this was a non-military player that was brought in. So how come people are expecting that if there were to be an interim government, which apparently no one is praying for, but we'll still get back to that, how is it compulsory that it must be the military government that must come in?
Yes, like I said earlier, the only time we've had this, it was the military that put it in place. Just like the retired AIG said, it's not, it doesn't make sense for a ruling party who, as at today, have won the presidential election, and we have a president-elect, as that's what the INEC have said. The INEC has the power to organize the elections, which they have done. If you don't like the outcome, like it's been said, you go to court. It doesn't make sense for the same government, the democratic government, to now shortchange itself by not swearing in the winner from the same party. It doesn't make sense. It's totally illogical. And I believe that anytime this interim government thing is mentioned, it could be seen, I see it from the angle that perhaps people are now inviting the military to come in, knowing that there is no way a democratically elected government will not hand over power to another democratically elected government of the same party. Just like the AIG said that within the past week, a lot have happened. People went to the defense ministry to also protest. A sign of inviting the military into power. And if the military comes into power, it's not an interim national government anymore, it's a military government. They could tell you we're going to be here for 6 months and then organize the elections, or we're going to call the parties together. But the reason for that, it's not on ground. There is nothing as today in Nigeria that necessitates an interim national government or a military government to take over. There were elections. A lot of people felt shortchanged by what happened in those elections. But we just have to give the judiciary the chance to come out with what people believe is the right thing. We don't know what the right thing is. They will have to tell us.
But what happens in this case that people do not trust the judiciary? Because first off, court cases last for a very long time, and people might not really have that patience to wait for, because the chances that the result or findings from this election, if there were shenanigans in it, by the chances that it's going to come out before May 29 is quite slim. So in cases where people do not trust the judiciary or do not have enough patience for the judiciary, so what would be the advice then?
Now, of course, when we are looking at these elections, the elections have a guideline. Electoral Act is the major legal framework that guides elections and every other thing around it. From the Act, we have the electoral guidelines and all of that. Now, the Act provides for a time frame. It's not like the normal court cases that last for 3, 4, 5 years. No. The Electoral Act has put in place a time frame within which every election petition must be commenced and terminated. The maximum is 180 days. So whatever be the number of witnesses you have, whatever be the number of the amount of evidence you have, the tribunal must work in such a way, and that's why the tribunals are set up. Those members of the tribunal, serving judges drawn from the state high courts, federal high court, national industrial courts, and even from the customary court of appeal and federal court of appeal, all of these judges, about 257 or so in number, will sit day to day. They have abandoned their normal courts and their dockets in the states and locations where they are drawn from to now tackle this. This is a special court, so to say, and these courts have to sit every day. That's why they are called tribunals. So the patience has to be there. Nigerians have to exercise patience to wait. That's one. Now, looking at whether people trust them, that's another thing. For quite some time now, the view of the people about the judiciary, the level of trust, if we have an integrity quotient concerning the judiciary, it's at the low end. I did say it here on a past occasion, but of course, every day you cannot expect, you cannot expect them to do. We still trust and believe that they are going to do the correct thing. But we say in law that justice must not only be done, but be seen to be done. So I trust that the judiciary know that people are looking on them, people are looking at them, and trust that they will come out well. They have a lot of pressure. They have a lot of, it's the case of all eyes on me. And I believe they will acquit themselves. Like I also said, don't forget that in law practice, you don't get what you don't ask for. So it's one thing for us to shout, this happened. It's another thing for who feels aggrieved to get right and proper evidence and place it before the court. It's not about, the court is not a Father Christmas as we say it. So they don't just come and dish out gifts. They give what you ask for based on what you present as your evidence. And if that evidence outweighs what the other party brings, definitely judgment will be given to you. There will not be a problem where the evidence is very clear that this man has a case that ought to have judgment in his favor. And on the ground of what we have always called technicality, the tribunal or the court looks or turns the judgment the other way. That's where now the problem is. That's where the problem could also come. A lot of people may not want that kind of that kind of judgment may not sit right with so many people. So like I said, we'll give the judiciary the benefit of doubt. Justice should not only be done, but be seen to be done. The reasonable man must wait out the duration and see that indeed justice was done in this situation. That is it.
Yeah, very well. And now, correct. That is noted.
Yes, I was saying earlier that that call was more of a preemptive thing for me. Also call it kite flying, like the AIG said, to gauge the mood of the people. Otherwise, the current mood of this nation doesn't need a call wherein you are saying some people have been uncovered who are planning something like this without more. We expected, for me and for so many others who have commented, we had expected that the breaking news should be, oh, good morning Nigerians, these names were rounded up in different parts of the country in the past 3-4 days, planning to foist upon Nigerians an interim national government, planning to subvert the democratically elected government, planning to forestall or to prevent the handing over to a new government come May 29, or this or that. That would have been much better. See these people, we rounded them off, these are their names, these are their faces. Nigerians will now be much more assuaged. It will help us to know what exactly is going on, who are involved. Other than coming to say, we have uncovered a plot, wherein some key players, interested people, interest want to do this without more. Not call names, We've not said anything from that. That to me is not charitable. Gauging the feelings of a lot of Nigerians at this stage in our democratic and transition process. Okay, and then not just that, we know that yes, when you don't come out clean on a matter, like the AIG said, a lot of government institutions don't impress Nigerians again. A lot of Nigerians are doubting of government institutions and their intentions. And when you create this kind of speculation, the grapevine is agog. A lot of stories come, people think the DSS, like you just said, has been bought over. You create room for people for gossip to fester, for the grapevine, the unofficial media to have its way. Some will now say, we saw the DSS DG so place, a lot of marketplace, speculation will come in. And you don't blame so many people. So like I've said, a lot of people are on edge already. And the best you could do is to say a thing and substantiate it with evidence. Okay? Then a lot of people will now say, oh, so this is true. Oh, they are working. Oh, this is great. This is charitable. Then the country will now, the tempo or the tensions will be able to reduce. But just that statement, the way it came, a lot of people have also said, is it another way, is it a decoy to now start to arrest the opposition or whoever calls for a review of these results or whoever comes out to protest? Because the right to protest is enshrined in Section 40 of the Constitution, and you can't take it away from Nigerians. As long as the protest is not violent, as long as you don't come out without intention or your action is to cause chaos or to disturb the public peace. Once it is a peaceful process, a peaceful procession, protesting, perhaps you have your placards, or you just speak, or you have your song, as long as it is done within the boundaries of decency and order, the Constitution protects that.
Okay, and if still done in the boundary of decency, with the best of attitude, and we have a group of people calling for interim government, would that still be under the Constitution, or would this automatically turn to something illegal?
Yes, I don't think a protest, in the sense of a protest, should now reach out to say what you want in that sense. If I'm protesting results, you could say these results are not acceptable to us. INEC, you have shortchanged us. Judiciary, please do the right thing. By calling for interim national government, you are like saying truncate the entire process. You are now going out of the Constitution. The Constitution has created the three arms of government. We inherited this. We weren't born into it. The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. And each of them knows their bounds. In any conflict, in any context, be it electoral, be it commercial, be it employment, and what have you, if your grievances cannot be settled amicably, the law is you go to the court. The judiciary will entertain and resolve accordingly. If you now take up your protest placard and begin to call for this, you are now recommending something out of order with the Constitution. Rather, your placard should be directed to the courts, to the judiciary, to say, judiciary, we are looking up to you. Don't do any kurukereti, do the right thing, because we feel we have been shortchanged. We feel our mandate, or the man who has the right mandate, or so, has been deprived of that mandate. I hope you understand. So I don't think that protest should also have that call. Because by that, you could be, that's like the boundaries of decency and order and law. Also means that you shouldn't go and call for something illegal. An interim national government is an illegal arrangement. If in your peaceful protest you are now calling for this, it could be interpreted to mean incitement. It could be inciting in nature. You are asking for something that the law hasn't provided for. It's an illegal arrangement that is not constitutional. Okay? Rather, your protest should make it clear that you don't believe what INEC did. INEC you went out of the guidelines you put, you made those things clear. INEC said it should be this way, but what we saw is this. INEC said is this, and what we saw is this. We have evidence how that so many things that were illegal took place during these elections. Now, what is the next thing? We're calling on the judiciary to right the wrongs.
So rather than calling for interim government, the best thing to do is to hold the judiciary accountable for them to do their best. And now to AIJ Austin Iwai retired. You said earlier that it is something well known that a lot of Nigerians do not trust a lot, not to say any, but a lot of offices we have for the federal government. And if there is lack of trust to the judiciary, then what would you advise the people do next to register their grievances if they don't believe in court judgment? Okay, it seems we do not have AIJ Austin Iwai retired with us right now. But let us, okay, do you have something you want to add?
Yes, talking about the judiciary. You know, like I said earlier, if you put it by way of integrity quotient, if we can use that word, it's at a low ebb. The trust Nigerians have, especially when it comes to do with elections. And that's why I said earlier, a lot of Nigerians will wait patiently, I believe, for the courts to come out with their judgment. And I also pray and believe that the courts will do the right thing based on the evidence that is before them. Okay? Because a lot of people, the layman, as we say in law, the person who is not a lawyer may not understand the process of what goes on in the court. He will say, this election didn't go well. There was rigging. But that alone cannot correct it. If you don't painstakingly get the evidence, documentary evidence and other form of evidence that supports your assertion that there was rigging, and place it before the court in a legal way, the procedure has to be followed. And then presentation to the court. By the time the judges, the panel members look at it, and then look at the other party's case, countering your own with their own evidence and application of the law, the tribunal will come out with their judgment. But, like I said, I pray that where this evidence is and is overwhelming, the tribunals will do the right thing. No matter whose ox is God. And our ability to maintain our peace as a nation and as a people will be tested if at the end of the day, the tribunals come out with what is not acceptable to many people. That is when you may not now be having time to protest, it may now be something else. I am not saying that is what it is, but I know that thus far a lot of people are waiting patiently, trying to douse their anger, douse their disappointment by waiting for the judiciary or waiting on the judiciary. If the judiciary understands the weight of expectation on them, I believe they will not let anybody, any interest, okay, step in their way or step in their way to do right justice, not technical justice. We had two instances recently which a lot of people frowned at, including legal practitioners. And one key one was a situation that involved the present Senate President representing, I think, Yobe North, Lawan, again, and Raji Machina, who also contested the primaries on the ticket of APC. As at that time, the Senate President had taken up a form to contest for the presidential primaries and was not around when that primaries for the Senate in Yobe State took place. Machina was returned as the winner. To cut it short, you know the story, how it went up to the Supreme Court, and Machina was based on that technical angle that the mode of commencement of the petition was not what was.
Okay. All right, thank you. What do you have to say about that? Having a court higher than the Supreme Court, perhaps a constitutional court, like you said.
Yes, for me, if you change the nomenclature and call it constitutional court, it's still going to be manned by human beings. Okay? If you want something more than the Supreme Court, it's not angels that will come down to man those courts. So I want to see it from the angle of having men of integrity on the bench. If you bring the constitutional courts that will be specialized in handling constitutional matters, the problem we have today in Nigeria is not that of the name of the court or the tribunal, but the fact that the people who are manning them are not, either they are or they are not trustworthy. That has always been the challenge. And when you talk about lack of trust, it's about the people in there, not about the name of the constitution. Of course, I know with respect to the third AIG, he's saying, we can still get it right as long as we don't take laws into our hands. We can amend the laws to see whether when some of these type of cases come up, we can have another body to review their decisions. Yes, I understand. But at the end of the day, we should build a nation. We should build what will last the test of time, what will last centuries to come. And it is not angels that will do it, it's not machines that will do it, it's still us. One has to come to a point where he will say, I will do what is right, even if my life goes for it. So we'll get to that point. We'll still keep having this issue. And one thing with Nigerians, it takes a very small thing to please Nigerians. I'm sure you know that. All this problem about corruption, all these things, when Nigerians have steady power, they go out in the morning, they have power where they work, they come home in the evening, they can put on their television sets, they see light to iron their clothes, then build roads for Nigerians, give them the amenities, and let them have some form of stability in the economy. What else are they asking for? So also with the judiciary. If the judiciary comes out today with something, good, they may not satisfy everything, but let there be some things that will happen and people will say, oh, our confidence is restored. That is all we need. Human beings will still run the system, no matter the name you call it. So those human beings should be our target for change, to do the right thing.
Very well then. And still talking about the election, I have to ask this question. Do you have any, maybe something to play a soothing balm or Nigerians right now, because as I said, a lot of people are on edge. I'm very quickly because we are running out of time.
Of course, like I said, that I would like to say that this to Nigerians: let them keep their fingers crossed, trusting that whatever parts of the country their issues came up from, those in the far north, those in the south. We have the governorship, we have the state assembly, we have the national assembly, we have the presidential. So many people are hurting from the outcome of some of these elections in some places, in most places. As the cases have gone to tribunal, let them keep their fingers crossed. But my assessment, my personal assessment, I want to align myself with the third AIG. Having seen what happened in 2015, a lot of Nigerians believe that after 2015, the way the elections went, that brought in President Buhari, that we could build upon that to 2019, and then with beavers and a lot of these other technological input, that by 2023 we will be way ahead of so many other African countries, comparing with Europe and the West in terms of election. But what happened in these 2023 elections has set us back. For me, I didn't see any credibility in it. It was not, it didn't speak well even of the President Buhari regime. Everybody expected that Buhari will hand over and keep that promise that I will not be for anybody. Of course, he's a member of the APC. No, nobody is saying that. But we are talking about let people see that their votes will count. That is it.
And like you said earlier, we just have to wait for the evidence to be presented in court so that we know for sure if the election that took place was credible or if there were mago, so to speak.
Yes.
And this is Ben Abraham, founder, Zarifat Aid, a crime-based NGO and a legal practitioner. Many thanks for being part of Firecrackers today.
Always, always.
And unfortunately, this is where we'll be drawing the curtain close on today's episode of Firecracker. It has really been a pleasure. It has been informative, it has been educative, and for people out there, please do the right thing in a way that won't land you in trouble. You might not know this, but now you know. Calling for interim government might not be the best thing to do at this time. My name is Diriba Misalako. See you again, same time, same station next week. You have a wonderful week ahead.